Hi everyone, it's Fiona here from fionamarks.com, and I'm back with some more tips for the Year 4 students as you are getting ready to deliver all of these amazing assessments. Today I'm going to talk to you about the papers. So let's go to that slide. All right, 10,000 word papers. There are 3 10,000 word papers. I learned heaps from this. I know it sounds really daunting, but I really, really, really recommend it. Subject, choosing your subject. I want to put out there how helpful it can be that one of your 10,000 papers is about someone that you know personally, that you can ask inside out, back to front, upside down, all of those indications, how they worked for the person. I found that really helpful. My first paper I did on an unknown friend, not a celebrity. Unknown to the public, known to me. I researched her. I did my normal process for researching the chart. And then I interviewed her with already I had content. So did this happen? Did that happen? How did this show up? You know, do you feel like this was these elements like the fire thing or these dharmic elements or this planet? You know, I just asked so that I was really getting lots of really good tailored information that helped me understand how to put together all of these, the sign, the house, the planet, you know, all together in some kind of cohesive, coherent, you know, I don't know, understandable essay paper. So I would throw that out there. Think about, you know, interviewing someone like including, I don't know, your mum or dad or your siblings or your best friend or someone really accessible. For mine, I just changed the name of the person and I asked Ryan not to publish the paper. If you choose a celebrity, which my second 2 I did on celebrities, I don't know, these are the vague tips that I have. Pick someone with a good Jupiter. And they say that because Jupiter is the planet of astrologers, it's the planet of counselors. It's got all of that wisdom, expansiveness, and it will help you write more easily, is the theory, if the person has a good Jupiter. I completely dismissed this piece of advice, didn't take any notice of it, like didn't even go into my awareness, and 2 out of 3 of my people had debilitated Jupiter. So, you know, I obviously didn't follow my own piece of advice, but the girls were doing it, and I think it's probably wise. So I'm putting it in there for you. Try and find a reliable birth time. That's a real challenge, isn't it? With someone that you don't know personally and you can't interrogate the source of their birth time. The databases that are available on the internet, one of them does try to give you an indication of how reliable they think the birth time is. Like they'll put a name of an astrologer or they'll put the birth certificate or rectified. So see how you go there. And obviously the other thing to keep in mind is that you want to be able to get plenty of information, because this is not a paper where you talk about the interesting things in the person's life for 10,000 words. This is where you have to talk about each house. So you have to talk about the 12th house of sleep and affairs and losses. You have to be able to talk about the 4th house of their inner contentment. You know, each house is going to pull from you. You want to say something about sometimes these very private houses. So you want someone who you can get plenty of information about. Yeah, and then you may find as you go through your readings that you do pick up patterns of people that you read better than others. And if that's the case, yeah, I would look for a celebrity that has that pattern that you read well, just to make it easy for yourself, because it's hard enough to write 10,000 words, let alone if the chart is hard to access because of the placements of the planets. Tips. I don't know. I would say these are very simple tips, but might help. Use headings in Microsoft Word. And what I mean by that is I'm going to have to pause the video here. Hold on, and show you what I mean. Okay, so we're talking about using headings in Microsoft Word. Here is my third essay about Prince Harry, and these are the headings, and you get them from up here on the toolbar or tool ribbon or whatever this is called. But the advantage of headings for you is that if you do Control F for find, yep, you can see your whole document and navigate your document via the headings. So when you're talking about, like this is 21 pages, this document, it's really helpful. So that's one way that headings help. But the other way is you can create a table of contents from the headings. So that also gives your reader, although Ryan doesn't need a table of contents, but if you're publishing it for someone else or another reader, it gives them a sense of the flow of the document and how long each house is and you know what they're going to be exposed to. So that's one of my tips, is use the headings in Microsoft Words. I like to use the bibliography and the footnotes because I like to do a lot of, I like, if I make a statement about a celebrity, I like to be able to back it up. So for example, here's the bibliography for my second essay. And when someone's reading the essay, then they can go click and see an article that has that link. So I like to use the bibliography and the footnotes. And then in terms of, this is going to be a very long document, like 20 pages. So I would suggest having some proofreading strategies under your belt. My poor husband has had to proofread a lot of astrology essays for me. He's a great editor and proofreader, but he can struggle because by this stage astrology gets quite dense. So you may not be able to find someone to proofread it, although feel free to contact me if you would like that. If you can't find someone to proofread it, you don't have time, or you can't find someone with the depth of knowledge, Grammarly can be really helpful. I only have the free version of Grammarly, but it points out simple things. I'm not a detail person, so it points out things where you've missed commas. It picks up spelling. It'll tell you, on the free version, it'll tell you where the sentence is too long. It won't tell you how to fix it, but at least it tells you that. So think about one of those Grammarly style programs. And I also like, for me, I'm not good at proofreading, not good at detail, but if I can hear it read, I will often pick up an error. So you can, both in Word, or if you make it into a PDF, you can, you can't see it on this screen, but there's an icon that you can get in Microsoft Word where it will read the text to you. So that can really help pick up those errors that, yeah, we all put in through lack of attention. In terms of layout or structure, these are the things, this is how I did it. So I used the headings to help me make sure that I covered everything for every house. So at the beginning of the essay, I put an introduction. Then for each house, I said, what are the significators of the first house? For example, body, life path, personality, start in life, that kind of thing. All of those generic indicators that we associate with the house. Then I put in a paragraph about the person's life experience. So if it was about the first house, I would put things about what their body was like, what their personality was like, what their life path has been like. Just, 2-3 sentences. Then I talked about the sign that house was taking place in, the planet that owned that sign, and if there were any planets in the house, I talked about them as well. Then I looked at the yogas, which for me was the Ascendant Yoga and the Bhava Yoga. And then I repeated that for each house. So every single house, I went through that. Then I put in a conclusion. So that is my structure for doing the essay. If you think about each house spending 700 to 800 words answering what are the indicators, what happened in the person's life, what's the sign, the planet, and the yogas, if you can keep that to 700 to 800 words, you're already, you times that by 12, you're already at 8.5 to 9,500 words. So I personally found it really difficult to say that about each house in 700 to 800. I would usually write around 1,000, especially just think about those houses that end up having 2 or 3 planets in there. So let's go have a little look to give you an idea. So this is the Megan essay, the second essay. We've got the table of contents there, and then this is my introduction. Because I struggled writing more words rather than less, so my introduction was really, really short. What my method was and a picture of their chart. That's my introduction. And then the first house represents, and then exactly what we talked about. Then I put in the prosperity annihilation score, but I didn't have time or space or words to say because Saturn was doing this, or there was a Rashi aspect of that, or whatever. Then a statement about the person's life, a statement about the sign, and then something about the planet that owns that sign. Then she actually does have a planet in that house. And then I talked about the ascendant yoga, which in this case, the moon doesn't make a yoga, but it's on the first house. And then where that planet goes to in the person's chart. So you can see that by far, I wrote the most about the planet that owned the house. So I wrote there, that's 350 words. And then I just kept going. Second house. So I went straight from the end of the first house to second house. Second house represents the person's financial security, their ability to meet their responsibilities, speech, ingest, what we digest, what we put in our mouth, and early childhood. And I just kept going. You'll see the same pattern every time. Now, I'm not giving you my essay, but you can see it online, both Harry's essay. So this is the conclusion for Harry's essay, but let's go to, if you just put in here in my search term, if you go and have a look at first house, for example, you've got my first house for Harry and the first house for Megan, and it goes through just what you'll notice. It's exactly the same. First house, life experience, sign, planet. Yep. And then at the bottom here, yeah, you can do and have a look at the second house, and it's all there. Yes. Now I found when I was researching these, that the level of research was more than I would do for a reading, like a 1-hour reading for a client. So I ended up creating a kind of spreadsheet. Let's see, that is now available on my website to buy, but you might think of something in your own way of thinking. Let's have a look. So I created this spreadsheet. And for each house, the spreadsheet allows you to record, lots of things like what elements, whether it's fire, earth, air, whether it's active, passive, whether it's male, female, what the Shadbalas are like, the prosperity and annihilation. And this was kind of the level of detail that helped me write the essay, because you really want to pull out where in this unique placement for this person's unique life, where are those resonating energies between the sign, the house, the planet that owns it, and the planet that's in there. So you might be a bit mathematical, I already told you I'm visual. I like to see it. So, I like to see these scores added up and say, oh, wow, yeah, there are a lot of fire element. There's a fire planet, it's a fire sign, plus the planet in also has that fire energy. Wow, that's a point that I want to highlight. And that would go bing, bing, bing on here because I'd get 3 bits of data on there. So if that happens to be the way that you think, I encourage you to, dig more deeply in this research for the papers than in when you're doing your normal preparation, because this is a great opportunity to see how all the puzzle pieces fit together. And I definitely found it hard at first to restrict myself to writing about each house. And, at the end of the second house, just going straight away into third house. And I felt like I wasn't maybe drawing out those main themes. And that is why for each of my essays, I did write a conclusion where I drew everything together. So for Megan's, we can go here. So I've now written about every house, but just for myself, I don't think Ryan needs this at all, but just for myself, I would pull it together and have these themes that were across the houses and came up in different houses over and over. And the person reading can link, if you click on these, you go to that section. So it helps the reader to see, oh yeah, this is where there's a real theme of independence in this. It's happening in the 5th house, the 10th house, the 2nd house, both at the planet level and the yoga level. So I did a conclusion for each. For Harry, where is his conclusion? All the way down here. So if you're struggling with, writing in this disjointed house way, maybe save yourself a few words somewhere, like get some words back so that you can have enough time to draw together the themes at the end in your conclusion. All right. Wow. I hope that helps you feel more confident about making a start on these projects. I certainly wrote mine in pieces. So I did find that you could write the first house and then walk away and come back the next day and write the second and third house. So that might be another way to break it down into smaller parts as well. If you set yourself your goal to write one house each day, or, 3 houses each weekend, or whatever it is that you can fit into balancing your life. Maybe that's another way to make it more manageable. Okay, good luck. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions or if I can help you out in reading your work or anything like that. Okay, best of luck. See you later. Bye.